All right. Good morning, YouTube. Letting this thing warm up. I'm still trying to track some stuff down. So give me a minute and we'll get this started. How's everybody doing? You made it to the weekend. That's all that matters, right? Somewhat. uh, but I hope everybody's doing good. Looks a little wet. Sporadic places across the country. We're dry for now. We'll probably get soaked later. I think it even passed over us last night. It was supposed to rain a little bit last night. I don't think it did. If anything, it was just the slightest bit, the slightest amount. But while this thing warms up, I'm still searching. I am don't have much of a docket pulled up. I have been looking into this British situation most of yesterday evening um, when I wasn't watching other chats. But the British are really going to have their what's the word for it? I mean, if lack of a better word, their come to Jesus meeting is coming because things are getting sideways, or they should be sideways. Maybe that's a better way to look at it. Um, that's definitely another way to look at it because what's going on there is definitely not in the interest of the people. It's ugly. So let me find this. If you didn't see it yesterday, there's a gentleman named Tommy Robinson who has been trying to follow the Islamic invasion in London and in Great Britain. And he was outside a court yesterday filming, recording, and talking about these rape gangs that have been going around and some gentlemen that were on trial, and he got arrested for doing so. It's caused, I mean, you had the Jada Franzen and that other guy that got arrested last month or whatever for basically disobeying a court order. Looked like the court got him on this for basically, they called it inciting a disturbance or disturbing the peace. And you can see the full video of his live stream from that over on my G Plus page. I'll get it in the description box here. But basically, he was, you know, doing what reporters should do. He was the only person out there. I mean, these guys are going in for sentencing for I think 17 rape of 17 different girls, and nobody else was there. No independent media. Nobody was out there but him. And the judge passed some rule or whatever from her bench, and they went down and arrested him and said he was disturbing the peace, if you can believe that. So that's the kind of situation they have in Great Britain, which I knew, we all knew it was out of control, but the rally cry has went out to a large portion of the country, and if they don't stand up now, you got to figure they're done. If this doesn't cause Catalonian like riots, like protests, that's what I would compare it to. It needs to be like Catalonia. People need to fill the streets. That's about the best comparison, because you know anything else would be shortchanging the effort. But there are supposed to be one today, and I was looking for a live stream. And I'm not sure who I'm talking to. What's the side chat going on? Let me pull over this written story while I'm still looking. Hey, Walter Davis. Good morning. How's it going? M. Long's with us. Good morning. My mouse is not cooperating. That's the independent article. Yeah, he wasn't swearing at these guys. He wasn't protesting the guys. He was acting like any other reporter would outside this court. You got. I'll get the link over here on this video. You get sidetracked. Actually, it is. If you refresh your page, that YouTube video will be in your description box. If you want to click over while I'm still pulling other stuff up. But he's a part of the English Defense. I guess he's the founder of the English Defense League, which I knew I'd heard his name, but I wasn't sure how he related. But the left is ecstatic because they consider him a racist and whatnot, just because he's called out the Muslim cult for what it is, and whatnot. So I was looking into a lot of that last night and really trying. They were supposed to have a protest, so that was my next goal, was to find out if there was anything going on a live stream. But what's going on in your neck of the woods out there? Let me get to where I can see this side chat at the same time. Walter, you think? I don't know. I don't think Tommy's anything like Alex. Watching him outside that court, he was nothing. There was nothing outside of the norm of what he was doing outside that courtroom that any of us wouldn't do, or any reporter. I wouldn't even say us. It was totally professional journalistically. I mean, he's not considered official licensed media, I guess, but he was just live streaming. Yeah, and I would say this invasion is probably rivals the Viking invasion because they have more internal subversion than they did with the Vikings. In that respect. That's probably their biggest challenge is there's far too many people internally that Oh, you're saying, Walter, that Alex is the only one that'll have Tommy on. Oh, right. Yeah. You're probably right about that. I mean, you can't find it. I was just looking at all the links on his arrest, and the American Thinker is the only one that has the article that's in the. A lot of Brits are just afraid to stand up. And to a certain degree, they're like a lot of Americans. They're just busy with their own things. Their heads are down. And they don't want to. It's the cognitive dissonance of not wanting to see what is going on in a lot of respects. Because it's easy to get tied up in, as they call it, their football games, which aren't real football. We all know this, right? And yeah, we don't have any Scottish, Irish, British viewers, I don't think, on the channel. Just Germans and such. But they have their challenges too, similar. And there was, where did I see that? Was it on Zero Hedge? There was an article that broke down that really the Islamic push was a convenient tie-in to the elite pedophilia rings, and that was disturbing when you think about it. It may have been somewhere else. Where did I read that? So I'm all over this place, I guess you'd say, this morning. Not organized. How's everybody out there? Right, Walter, they do have a different mindset. And they also consider themselves still to be on top. They were never pushed off top dog. They kind of eased themselves out of being the top dog. They were never conquered, if you will. So that's he's talking about following those leaders. They follow the rulers and parliamentarians and ultimately the Queen. They still, obviously, we had the that wedding last week that everybody was all excited over. There was a good video of the Irish soccer game, and the crowd was telling them what they could do with their royal wedding. It was pretty awesome. 20,000 people out there chanting, telling them to pack sand. But it was pretty good stuff there. Where is a live stream? Live stream. I don't see anything. Good morning, Takeo. I'm not going to attempt to butcher your last name. Thanks for joining us. Are you in Japan? Or are you in the States? Welcome to the stream. Don't think we've welcomed you here before. Are you talking about the British leaders are going in different directions there, Walter?
So I'm at Leeds Crown Court, where these men here.
So I'm going to pull up the live stream video real quick so everybody can see how the circumstances kind of were of him getting arrested. It sucks that I don't think they've done the update on the phones where you can video sideways. Asking the gentleman as they go into court about their verdict, how he feels about, the circumstances, if they're going to get it or not. And they all run away from him and whatnot. They know who he is, obviously. They're yelling about his mom and calling him names and everything, as he's just asking them how they feel about the circumstances of their verdict. Is it going to be yay or nay, or they feel confident they're going to get off or whatever?
As you can see there, doesn't seem like much guilt. Doesn't seem like anyone's ashamed. I'm outside Leeds Crown Court, where today 10 men are facing verdicts. Their verdicts for alleged grooming and rape scandal involving hundreds of young girls, but there's 18 victims come forward. Some of these girls were as young as 11. Let me read you the list of charges that these men are facing. There's 6 more who are still yet to come here. This is part 2 of the trial, you see, because 29 men, 29 people, 2 women, are involved in this case. 30% of them are called Mohammed. 3 of the men walking in here today are called Mohammed. The defendants today, Mansour Akhtar. He's charged with rape, attempted rape, and 2 counts of trafficking. Mohammed Akram. He is charged with 7 counts of rape, 3 counts of trafficking, child abduction, supplying drugs, sexual assault, and making threats to kill. Wikas Mahmoud. He is charged with 3 counts of rape. Nazarat Hussain. He is charged with 3 counts of rape, attempted rape, inciting a female to engage in sexual activity. Sajid Hussain. He is charged with 3 counts of rape, facilitating the commission of sexual activity on a child, and inciting a child into sexual activity. Mohammed Ifraz. He is charged with trafficking a female within the UK with a view of her sexual exploitation, rape, false imprisonment, child abduction, taking decent images of children, inciting children to engage in sexual activity. Fasil Nadeem. He is charged with supplying drugs, rape, possession of extreme pornography. Mohammed Azim. Another Mohammed. He's charged with 3 counts of rape. Mansour Hassan Lockwood. He is charged with supply. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. You just there's a rape trial going on, yeah. There's a rape trial going on.
Why is it your business?
There's a rape trial going on.
Why is it your business?
So why am I a tosser for reporting on it?
No, you're a tosser for being you.
Yeah, go on, go explain it. What do you think? What do you think of the 29 young children aged 11?
Anyway, these guy gets up there and asks him what's his business, but let's go to towards the end where he actually gets picked up. But yeah, he's there just kind of reporting because nobody else will. Nobody knows about these things. If you had this type of thing in the United States, you would expect the media to, it'd be plastered all over. You're talking multiple counts of infractions, and nobody's reporting on it. And that's causing a lot of the angst, I guess you'd say, with the media. Let me get back down here. So he's walking outside as they come in individually. He just basically asks them the question how they feel about their court case, if they're going to be convicted or not. Walk around doing the live stream chat just like this, talking to himself. And
yeah, that's it. Yeah, sandwich. Yeah. I thought so. I was just making sure I was right. Yeah, a bit worried then.
yeah, Walter didn't get enough hugs when they were kids. I don't know if that was the problem. It's not the way they work over there.
No, I'm fine, thank you. Cheers.
And that's the thing. I don't think anybody knows Walter because he was going to go in the courtroom after this and, find out what the verdicts were. And I don't think anybody was able to go in because he was the only one willing to go in and talk about it. It's like a gag order. It's like a what's the word? Unsaid gag order. It's a hush topic. But he was talking about the judge peeking out, looking at him as he was out there, because he was on, and he was like saying, this is stage 2. There's other gentlemen that still have to go to trial for their charges, but he was on a suspended sentence for something else similar, where the court ruled, he didn't hurt anybody or anything. The court just said he was in violation of some order. And when we talk about, I've been sharing these channels lately with James Freeman out of Texas and the other couple fellas, and I found them after the Almost Park protests. But they've been talking about you need cameras in the courtroom, and in Texas in particular, you're supposed to have public meetings. You're supposed to be accessible, and the Texas statute says it, but yet judges still constantly kick and arrested them when they're the ones breaking the law. The judges are breaking the law by saying you couldn't record the proceedings when Texas state law says you can. That's the kind of thing we're fighting, and this guy can't even get up the courthouse steps live streaming. So that's where it's going, this private secret courts, secret proceedings. Here's where they arrest him right here. They're up to him, talking to him. And he's like, I've been arrested. Like, yeah, you're being arrested for disturbing the peace. Breach of the peace, they're saying. And they never warned him, never said anything to him. He was out there live streaming like this the whole time. So it's over an hour of him talking prior to this on just to his live stream, and then they pick him up. I think the judge just looked out the window, I think, and said, whatever, made something up. They're a lot further down the road than we are, and that's what's, I think people need to realize this is where we're going, to where you can't even try to find out what's going on. A little less report on it. But how everybody else's morning going? Oh. You think they're still there, Walter? There was talk of a rally today. There's another gentleman that did a video talking about Sunday there being a rally. But I don't know the status of any of that, but that would be interesting to follow, because it has upset quite a few people that were previously just thought Tommy was kind of some right fringe radical. But when you listen to him speak, he doesn't speak anything. I mean, he's mild compared to Alex Jones. Like, if you want to say, he's just calling out what you see. He's just stating facts. That whole live stream, it's all stating facts. But the facts are hard to swallow, as they say. So if you want to warn your friends about what happens if they don't speak out now, you end up like Great Britain, having your children raped and nobody trying to stop it. As bad as that sounds, it's probably actually worse. Okay, I think I found a live stream. And it looks to be lightly attended. I think they said for 3 p.m. their time, so that's definitely well past. But it is that, what do they call that organization? Britain First movement. Short ropes in Sherwood Forest. You think the sheriff still got it? The sheriff of Nottingham didn't get them all, Walter? Yeah. Link this over for future reference to come back to it. I don't know. How long has it been on? 26 minutes ago. So they're just getting warmed up. So I guess it's about that time in the UK. Oh, wait. This is recorded. This is no longer live. I can't understand half the British slang. So that's 20 minutes ago or so, I guess. Let's see what else they got. So I haven't looked up a whole lot else what's going on. So anybody got anything for me that I need to track down or they want to bring up? There's a lot of different subjects that you can wrap into that Tommy Robinson thing, between the refugee problem, Middle East war problem, big government overreaching 1984 government problems. It's all wrapped into that same story. But there was a really good article I read about how basically the elite can use the refugees for their own purposes. They kind of tie in together, and I don't know where I saw it. All this going on, and Drudge puts LeBron on the front page in a picture. Good job, Drudge. All kinds of good articles below, but the lead line, it's like total distraction. What do you mean, Walter? Suppose the Labor Party has allowed any of the refugees and stuff as a populist party, or the Labor Party is so liberal that they don't want to talk about it. I think that's they want to hold hands with the Muslims all the way to the execution firing line. Or I should say the beheading line, when they get beheaded. I don't care about Morgan Freeman really, Walter. But he's been accused apparently by a few women, similar to Cosby, but not, it was sexual assault, sexual harassment stuff, not so much assault, it doesn't sound like, but I don't know. That's what's going down with Morgan, if you haven't heard. Kilauea volcano is still taking casualties. This is definitely going to go on for a while, probably. We'll see how that. Yeah, Barry. I wouldn't go to Hollywood if you paid me. You don't. Yeah, you can't pay me enough. I mean, West Hollywood had that Stormy Daniels Day, given the key to the city just because they found out she was going after the president. I mean, she's been around for how many decades, and now they decide to be friends with her or whatever. Yeah, more. Man, I'd be good to need some better pictures than this. Come on. I wonder if the Weather Channel has any better pictures of the hurricane. I didn't see it on the front page. They do have that subtropical storm coming up out of the Gulf, the Caribbean, southern U.S. needs to look out. Saints and Sappers, that looks like it might be in your line of fire. You might be in the impact zone at some point. So lots of rain. I don't think it's not going to be a destructive hurricane, I don't think, or nothing, but lots of rain and such to look out for with that. There's some of the pictures out of Hawaii of cracks forming further down in that neighborhood, just fissures in the ground, starting to swallow up houses and whatnot. You can see that's all cracks from there. You'd think there's something like that from an earthquake, and that's just from the volcano alone. Yep. Can you imagine trying to get your stuff out of that house before all that? That house is done. You gotta figure that whole development is probably done for. All the people, I guess they developed that area as a cheap alternative to some of the more expensive real estate because of the possible danger from the volcano, and their repayment's going to be they're not even going to be able to sell their property. They've lost all type of investment potential or maintenance of wealth potential. I guess I should say. What was that? Get off this page. And it ain't over yet. They're going to be dealing with that. Who knows when that volcano is going to quiet down. Do you really think the left is eating its own, Walter? I think they're just using it as a competition to see who's going to be the top dog. They're just calling out the non-believers, the non-true followers. I think is what the left's got going on. Still wish I knew where that article was. That was about the tie in the elite and the Islamic invasion. I can't remember where I found it. Oh, and that Oklahoma story, a little follow-up, I guess there were two guys with a gun that confronted that guy. Maybe one of them is the only one that took him down, but two guys can actually confronted him. So that's a more feel-good story out of that Oklahoma situation. Not one, but two guys. Two guys with guns. That always helps to have a backup to your backup. So I guess the rally's already over. No, that's from a couple weeks ago, a different rally. I don't know. I don't think Cosby and Freeman, I don't think were part of the club or nothing. I wouldn't consider them leftists at all. They called some stuff out, especially Cosby when it came to like getting education and some of the work stuff back in the probably late 90s, early 2000s. He was speaking out against the whole racism agenda back then. Like, yeah, you need to get a good education and get a job, this fatherless family deal. And he was calling it out a while ago. It seemed like Cosby was. I think they may went after him more so because they got in the way of the narrative more so than anything. So here's in this article, following up on Tybee Robinson, they're saying he got arrested for a criminal offense of contempt of court. People can be jailed for speeches or publications that create a substantial risk that the court of justice in the proceedings in question will be seriously impeded or prejudiced. So they think that's what they went after him for when he was there for the verdict part of the trial. The verdict, I mean, the sentencing part. The verdict should already be is already in play. The jury's already spoken. How is he prejudicing it? But simply covering a story now in London means that you're prejudicing people to sway their opinion, and they're not considering it informational just by reporting on it. And you can see that here. I mean, when we had the Malheur trials in Oregon and in the Bundy trials in Vegas, a similar law in the United States, those protests going outside and those rallies outside the courthouse every day would have had a similar outcome as this. People have been arrested just for standing on the street corner, reporting on what's going on, what they find out in court, and just being there, having a presence. In Britain that would be considered prejudicing the verdict of the outcome. So sad state of affairs in when you consider what any type of freedom of speech maybe still exists. How much is just being the powers that be exerting their power now that they think they got enough people marginalized they can do it too. That's the way that kind of works. I don't think anything about this in the Drudge either. Guess there's a trucker protest in Brazil causing economic problems, gas shortages and such, because nothing's getting delivered as they're in a full-on trucker walkout, basically, drive out, whatever you want to call it. Nothing's getting delivered. Be a good study in your just-in-time delivery of services and goods and services fails when the truckers go on strike. That could cause problems. Or it is causing problems in Brazil. I can't find a single live stream or nothing. Who was gonna, wait a second, let me see. She was gonna be there, I thought. Good morning, Del Boy. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a live stream of that demonstration that's supposed to go on in London. And there was a separate video from today too that said there was one tomorrow at 1 p.m. as well. There was a brief 6-minute video we just pulled up from this morning, but there's no live stream going that I can find. I'm not subbed to a lot of those type of people, so that's not showing up in my feeds or anything. That's part of the problem. Good morning. Will it just address them? Good morning. Thanks for coming in. It's still beyond Periscope, right? It just started like 20 minutes ago. Don't even think they got it going full steam. It was just getting warmed up. And I'm sure the hashtag is getting throttled and everything. Let me look that up. Actually, pull it. Get YouTube search terms right. Yeah. These are all old videos. Filter. Oh, is that right? There was just one on. Okay, Periscope, you're just watching battery issues. Yeah, not much coming out and whatnot. But something to follow. It's not over. I mean, today's just the first stage, but what was the turnout like there, Drayson? What did you see in that live stream? What was the numbers looking like? That's really what I wanted to see, because I was saying earlier that it would need to be Catalonian-sized protest if that were going to be effective. They need to fill the streets, not just in London either. But I don't know what the likelihood of that is with Britain's current condition. Nobody wants to be called a racist or nothing. But yeah, there's this other coming off this channel saying another rally tomorrow as well. All right, so I've really messed up the Newsday chat for everybody, but thanks for checking in. Talked a little bit about the volcano, everybody's weather situation. So, well, you bring up a good point, Walter. I think we're going to learn a little bit out of this, but this issue and a lot of these issues, these movements, if you will, people are going to have to learn what leaderless resistance looks like. That's where it's really got to go. People have to have enough in their understanding of things. And I think the right, or what, well, not the right, bad word for it. But since the Tea Party, here in America, I think people have learned that you have to have a certain amount of leaderless resistance. You have to be inculcated with enough foundational understanding of the issues and what's going on to have a certain amount of leaderless resistance to where you can put out the word for an event and people learn how to spread it themselves within their group, organize locally without relying on a central message, a central organization doing everything for you. Because we know the NRA fails on the Second Amendment issues. And people have learned a lot since the Tea Party got undermined. The way they undermined Ron Paul and everything else, that out of individual action, that you can't wait for somebody to call to action and understand the issues well enough. Your own advocate for yourself, and that's going to get even more important further down the line this goes, actions as they're needed. Raining up there too, Barry. All week here, Barry. And we got drenched Thursday night. It was just a drenching, lightning, the whole 9 yards. And the weather map is definitely sporadically wet for just about everybody. They're concerned talking about this greater area here, southern Utah, Colorado River Basin, Phoenix, and Arizona, and New Mexico. Those areas are suffering from a big drought still. They haven't been hit with all the great wet weather that we have up here in Northern California, Northern Nevada. It's funny when I start looking for videos on this, I think I find more Americans commenting on it than I do on anything else, which is good that a lot of Americans are paying attention. But again, that shows a sad state of affairs in Britain. That it might have to do with my search parameters too, just because I'm in the U.S. I'm going to get more U.S. channels and feedback and whatnot. And with that new EU data rule, maybe that's part of the throttling, and it starts compartmentalizing everybody off from each other. It's funny when I see something like, I was trying to get the concept of the British using the word patriot, because we totally associate that with the revolution and the patriots of the American Revolution. Like, really it didn't realize anybody else used it. It seems like in a lot of respects, like, it makes sense that it applies as a general term, but Americans take it so much to heart that patriot is a very specific American term when it's not. But it is funny to see the British use that word when you don't think of it in that context often. And I'm not seeing... That's pretty funny, Walter. The sheep get together and organize and they become cats. It's hard to herd cats. Right? This would be a good article to read. And this is going to be a good tie-in if everybody's following along what's going on with the Fed statements and the bond market. Obviously, we had QE4 and McTwist and everything else the Fed was doing for the past 8 years after the economic crash to stimulate the economy, and very little came of it. But once they start backing off of this stimulus program, we've already seen some of the results. They've raised interest rates just a modicum of a percentage point, and it's already causing issues. The bond market barely gets above 3% on the 10-year, and everything about melts down. It quickly corrected back down under 3 this week, and to level the ship out. But you got conflicting, and that's why the Fed made that statement this week about letting inflation run, because they have to. Either they let inflation run or they let interest rates go up and everything falls apart. It's like your choice. Which way do you want to go down? It'll be very interesting to see how it continues to play out. But let's link this over for everybody's viewing pleasure on the... Or obviously, you can get it on Zero Hedge yourself, but I like to do my part, I guess. I'm long QE forever. Yeah, QE to infinity and beyond, which some speculate they're kind of doing behind the scenes anyway with other things they haven't told us about. But some of that Operation McTwist details was not revealed to Congress or the public until after the fact. They told Congress in a meeting back in like 2013 that, oh, by the way, we're doing this bond buying shell game behind everybody's back to kind of keep the stimulus going when it's not going, and just playing games with everything. It's a funny way they can do that when they control and manipulate everything in the market. And everybody's feeling like they're back in 07, 08. Real estate, condition of the stock market, all these things are bad signs if you think the take off, I guess would be the word. Again, links are in the description box. They'll update if you refresh your page. You'll get more links down there as we go on, or if you're watching in replay. Either way. Pick a sinking ship. And are you saying picking the sinking ship of which country to sink with, or which ship to fall on your sword with? Either you're going to fall and die in the Wall Street market, fall and die in the real estate market. Pick your poison, right? Today's Sign of the Apocalypse Reparations Happy Hour invites white people to pay for drinks. And this is in all places probably one of the whitest cities in America, Portland. We'll just laugh at this. Reparations happy hour. Oh my goodness. So I guess the bar paid for it. Like white people weren't going to the bar and paying for things themselves. Oh, it was a symbolic gift mostly funded by white people who were asked not to attend. So we're going to buy you drinks. We want you to buy people drinks, but you can't come hang out with them. What is going on? It's, again, sign of the apocalypse. It doesn't make any sense. Like, I thought we were trying to bring people together to discuss issues and kumbaya and, you know, get over things. Instead, create more divisive situations for people. Because unless you meet the person that like funded this, you know, and helped, you know, had this, you know, bought you that drink, like, it's really, is it going to improve anything? I guess Mr. Witten is the bar owner. Said he hoped the event, in addition to building community, how does this build community and exclude part of it? Would call attention to reparations. I wonder if how many of these people actually know if they're even, their family was even involved in the, if they even had parents or great grandparents that were slaves. How many of them immigrated some other way that they're just not aware of? Sad state of affairs there. Oh, right, Walter. Yeah, interest rates or inflation. Which one are you going to get? Because they'll both cause a collapse of some sort. Obviously, inflation, hyperinflation, having its effect to destroy the economy, but also interest rates climb and all the investment side collapses. You know, when you get a 1929 repeat or something, and it's not going to take much, as we've seen. It's not even got to 3.5 yet, and everything's freaking out. Can you imagine if interest rates, because interest rates should be a lot higher to check inflation, because that's what they do, but they haven't been allowed to do that, so they're way behind the power curve on the interest rate side, and even the slightest move is going to correct that inflation to the point where Wall Street and the other investments type stuff doesn't like it, and you're talking about retail investment, real estate investment, all that stuff collapsing. Oh, the rally's live on Periscope right now. Okay. I don't even know how to look that up. Got to be somewhere else too. I would think, right? The hashtag seems to be trending fairly well, so that's good. The Free Tommy Robinson hashtag. Here's a brief 30-second clip from a couple minutes ago, but that's not going to cut it. 30 seconds isn't. Looks like a pretty good turnout, though, from this view. Let me pull this over. You can see from this clip, pretty good crowd. I like that fill in the streets part. Not quite Catalonian style, but they'll get there. So that was by Arthur Guimard, who posted that to a BBC thread on the Twitter. I guess it's also on YouTube, it looks like. Because the BBC's not covering it. Why would they? Get enough people in the streets, they'll have to cover it eventually, right? I'd be like, why is everybody in the street? Right. Well, Walter, I'm waiting for my reparations from the Roman government. That's what I'm waiting for. If we're going to go down that road, like how far back do we go? Who does it for what? Because if everybody gets hung up on what happened 200 years ago plus to 6,000 years, how far back do we want to go on this concept? Because everybody was enslaved at some point by some time by some type of people. We're just some of the survivors that made it through that with our. But if the Romans are going to give me reparations, I'd like a nice little spot in the Italian Alps. I think that would be appropriate, you know, for that reparations, for invading my homeland and whatnot. It's hung up, the live stream is there, Dresden? Are you out of the UK or where are you from? I don't think you've been in the stream here very much. But thanks for dropping in. Here was a tweet that went out earlier by Opinionated. That's who I was looking for. I was looking for her earlier because I think she was going. And it said 3:30 p.m., which is it was supposed to be 3 England time, of course. Let me see if she's got any. She doesn't have anything up. But I was going to try to find her on the YouTube. That's right. I got sidetracked. Hey, Bikes, good morning. What's going on? How you doing? Yeah, right. White and long. So very, very few people own slaves. Everybody in my family was poor dirt hillbilly mountain farmers. That's a fact. If anybody doesn't know who this lady is, opinionated European. She's a Polish descent. Her family moved to England sometime back, I believe, shortly after the Cold War, something like that, or right towards the end of it, it looked like. She didn't spend much time in Poland, but of course, heard all the stories and whatnot, and that's one of her things, is talking about those lessons that people are quickly forgetting on communism and whatnot. And she is not live streaming off her YouTube, and she's not sharing anything on the Twitter. It doesn't look like of any live streams. Huh. Okay, Drazem. Okay, good to know. A lot of Americans are definitely paying attention. That's good because so often what happens over there follows over here. And like we talked, there's several different issues going on: press suppression of the media, suppression of free speech, videotaping in the courts, which they don't have that right at all in Britain. We're trying to get some sort of semblance of maintaining that here in America. The Muslim invasion, they have special rights over everybody else. We're trying to avoid that here, etc. Yeah, M. Long, your family came across the Cumberland Gap with Daniel Boone, etc. Yeah, Walter, that doesn't count. We all should have been working at that level when we were kids. Good morning. I'm going to mess up this name. Jerika Saponja. Is that correct, sir? Um, Welcome to the stream. Yeah, you got to speak out when you see injustice to anyone. Because otherwise you'll be the last one standing when they come for you, right? It's kind of the lesson of that saying. Oh yeah, I know him long. Yeah, Kentucky was part of Virginia at the time. Technically, I mean, they didn't have any like official government structure in Kentucky at that time. It was just, we'll draw a line out here to the Mississippi and call it Virginia, and North Carolina the same with Tennessee. And then they're like, well, that's just too much area. We're going to have to break this up. Right? Drudge hasn't updated anything. He's really fallen behind. So what's been going on in your neck of the woods, Bikes? You getting heat down there? We've been getting some nice cool rain up here. Hate to rub it in for you. So yeah, we're not seeing many live streams out of Europe on this whole deal. We just had that one brief 30-second clip. I'm sure that the Brits can throttle down enough cell towers and internet that people just have to upload videos on the back end. They won't be able to show anything live. 1984 in somewhat of effect, if not full effect yet. So just nice and warm down there. Bikes. Right? Right. Jerika, well, thank you. Appreciate it. I don't think we worry too much about getting demonetized, but I appreciate it. I've got a couple of super chats in the past. It's like, I don't know what I'm going to do with that. It's all got Google lets you makes you add up to 100 or whatever. So it might be a while till it gets passed down, but I appreciate the thought. Appreciate you coming into the chat. Are you coming from, it says it's in Euro. Are you coming from the UK or out in that area? Were you looking at his Jeep there? You're looking at Tony's Jeep bikes? Deutschland. Okay. We've had several Germans come and visit several friendly channels over here. One of our buddies, Tactical Tony, had a chat one night and he got invaded. We called it the German invasion. About 60 fellas, ladies and gentlemen from Germany, came into the stream, and we thought we were being overrun by trolls there for a second, but it turned out to be a good thing. It was a good chat, and we've frequented some of their chats, and we go back and forth some on different things with their chats over there. Some German contacts. Bikes is our resident German translator. If you haven't met Bikes and Bullets, he will do our translations if people need to come into a chat and break down the Deutsch into English if we need it. So you think that Jeep's got good potential, Bikes? That's what you were saying? It's pretty solid. It's just a little, it's a used vehicle, so obviously it needs a little care here and there. Only after 6 shots, Bikes? Oh, man. We'll have to get you a bottle. Get you a bottle down there for you. Get you prepped up. You might have to be called into emergency duty, Bikes. Okay, here's a Tommy Robinson update. Okay, let me pull this over. This just came out of the Great Britain channel, spelled GR8 Brit. All Jeeps need TLC, Bikes. All Jeeps need TLC. So this is a letter or something. This is a breaking update. It just posted just a few minutes ago. So you should be able to see this pretty good, but I will read it just in case. Due to the reporting restrictions set down by the judge, I am unable to report on anything said or done in the courtroom other than Tommy was given 13 months for contempt of court and immediately taken to prison. That's because he violated, or they considered a violation of his earlier suspended sentence. Once if you're on a suspended sentence, you get anything else, that sentence is enacted and maximized, basically. Tommy's solicitor is meeting Tommy on Tuesday. I guess solicitor is your lawyer. Tommy on Tuesday to discuss what next steps can be taken, if any. She was deliberately misled by the police, who informed her on the phone that he was being released. And when she asked for confirmation that he would be released and that there was no need for her to travel to Leeds, they informed her that was correct. The police immediately took Tommy to the court and appointed a court solicitor who was useless, of course. I think the rules in court are quite different in the U.S. There's no self-representation, I don't believe, in the UK. Below are details to contact Tommy if you wish to send messages of support, money, postage stamps, phone calls for toiletries, etc. Tommy is so far okay, and here's the address, and I'll let this video play. which might just be this. Yeah, it's just starts off with just that. He might get in some commentary here. It's the guy who does a lot of live streams. I've watched a couple of his stuff yesterday. Yeah, Drayson, what Periscope channel is that? Is that the one you mentioned earlier? Or did you mention that channel? I think you mentioned a YouTube channel earlier. Stevie C? Stevie C, is that the same channel? This video doesn't have a whole lot going on in it. They're not saying anything. My volume's up. Yeah, they're not speaking. Or nothing. That's interesting. Editing error, maybe? Possibly. Yeah, the rest of the video could be blank. They just didn't edit out the end. That happens. I've had it happen, actually, where I put a clip in and shortened it and didn't realize there was a whole back end to it, and the video was like 3 minutes longer than I thought, just because of dead space. Don't grind my gears. That's an interesting channel. So that was just nothing more than a letter from someone that was posted here on this. They shared it on YouTube. Put that in the side chat, just if anybody wants to link over. Is this the right channel? It says it's from Florida. And it's not the right channel. That's a rap channel. Definitely not the right channel. Is there more than one? Don't grind my gears. Yeah, we were talking about the German or the EU data rules earlier in the week, Jerica. The whole internet suppression thing is in full effect, it seems like, in the EU. This guy's just talking about what the live stream from yesterday. We already mentioned a lot of that. Goodness.
Trying to work out what's happening, gathering my own thoughts, getting information, because now there is a gag order on his case. Anyone in the UK reporting on it can find themselves in a similar situation. Now, people need to understand what's happening to Tommy is it is the government shutting down conservative speakers, conservative thinkers, conservative activists like Tommy. Now, they've had it in for Tommy for years. I just couldn't imagine that it's going to happen on this scale again. In an hour or two, he was arrested live on Facebook, charged and jailed for 13 months. Now, that information has been pulled off Facebook now because the friends and the people
Tom are afraid of finding themselves in a similar situation. But that's where we're at. He has been locked up for 13 months for reporting, and the case that he was reporting outside of was a Muslim grooming gang with scores of victims as young as 11, horrific crimes that no mainstream media was covering, only Tom. The only other time we've heard something similar like this was with Jada Franson and what's his name from Britain First, who are also locked up. They were locked up for basically coming to the house of the neighbour's house of a now jailed pedophile who was out at the time, and a Muslim pedophile who gang raped a young girl in a fish and chip shop just to notify the neighbours that he lives next door. They were also locked up. So this is what the UK police are using as a tactic to silence these people, and Tommy has been through it. And the scary thing here is that this could very well be the end of Tommy, not just online, but this could be the end of his life, because the last time he was sent to jail on charges that he should have never been sent to jail. It was after the EDL. The police had it in for him, and I encourage everybody to go and I'll try to find the link and I'll put it in the description, where Tommy tells his story about what happened to him, how he was at the end jailed on fraud after the whole EDL, and he was put in a room with a group of Muslims. And
Okay, I think this is that link you just shared. Let me pull this over. This is the right one. This is the link you just put in there, Jerika. Looks like it was just published from the rally. Let's see if we can get this volume up a little bit. See what he's got to say.
So, I'm walking away from it now. Unfortunately, what was brilliant, but you can probably still hear it behind, is the noise that was just created. And I've got a few video clips. I'm going to upload them as and when I can. I was running out of storage on the phone. A few of the guys have got a little bit overexcited, and there's climbing on fences, stuff like that. I pulled back from that because that's not what I came here for. I came here to make a noise, to protest, and my God, did we make some noise. Traffic was stopped. Again, I'm not into unlawful actions. You know, this has got to be done. This has got to be done peacefully, and it is at the moment. It's peaceful. It's just a lot of noise. Shame on you. You're not British anymore. It's very EDL. These working class lads, they're a little bit rough and tough. They've got to just pull back a bit now. I would say. My heart started racing a bit, so I've pulled back to the other side of the road. I've got a little long journey to get back for anyway. So, and my car, if I'm over on my car, I'm going to get a big fine. So, that's my last video right now. I'll do something later on as well. Thank you very much for watching, and really all the people that have subscribed to me in the last sort of 24 hours or so, I really appreciate it. It's weird. I'd rather not have all those new subscribers and Tommy Robinson not be various. But you know, that's happened, and it's been good for my channel. So I really do thank you very much for that. Please don't just unsubscribe when I'm doing a boring video. But there's been one rumour going around, a few people saying that Tommy got beaten up last night, but it's just a rumour. I don't think it's true. I was just chatting to another chap there. I can't remember his name. He's going to be speaking here on Monday at the protest about the 3 lads that were killed. And he said he knows someone that's seen Tommy, apparently, and he's not been beaten up. So just for now, we all need to take a little step back from that. And these guys over there, they're making a hell of a racket. They're really causing a storm. If this doesn't make the media, I'll be surprised. But if it is in the media, it's going to be a bunch of fascist Nazis killing noise in the street. And it's nothing like that. It's a real mixture of young, old, women, men, children, pets, you know, and it's passion. It's an incredibly frustrating situation. You've got an Orwellian state just persecuting the people that they pick out that they want to persecute, and they're allowing massive double standards going on. As Luke Nash Jones said it perfectly. We hate all colour. We just need them all to be punished.
Okay, that mate is a little bit off base, but he's got a good report there. This just started Opinionated European from the report, so pull this up.
And whether he complied with the the terms of his sentence, basically. And so what we're going to need is legal help, or Tommy is going to need is legal help. And now that truly is up to you guys. I mean, at the end of the day, Tommy being in prison or out very much depends on how much money he can gather and how much help he can basically assemble. So I hope that you guys will be able to donate. The website is tommyrobinson.online. So I suppose that is the main thing you guys can do. If you can be here to protest, if you can be here to show your anger and dissatisfaction with what happened, that is the absolutely best thing you can do. Donate to Tommy's defense team. Being a controversial figure like he is going to need a lot of support, a lot of financial support, because the lawyers that he will be renting out will need to be the best in the world. I mean, this is a situation where his life is at risk. Tommy Robinson, last time when he was in prison, what happened was that he was stabbed the first night and lost all of his teeth. This man has children, this man has a wife, he has a family, he has an older mother. And so I couldn't express how important it is that all of you who support what he does and support him and support his cause and free speech, primarily freedom of speech and freedom of press, donate to his campaign. All of it truly depends at the end of the day on you guys and how much you can help. It would be a different situation if I was asking for money for myself. I'm not. I'm asking for money for a man who, to a lot of you, is a hero. That's what people have been telling me. And so if you're ever going to donate to charity in your life, I think this is the time to do it. This is the time to donate to Tommy. I just wanted to quickly show you guys the police presence. There are quite a lot of cars. There's quite a lot of officers, but I think primarily, as it always happens with our protests, it's peaceful. You know, we don't go violent. We don't start getting angry. We don't go around messing things up, attacking people, disturbing public order. So the police is always basically ensured that we are going to be peaceful. We're going to behave. It's completely different than what happens when left-wingers come and organize these protests, these speeches. It's always violent. They always end up attacking people. I'm just going to ask my camera woman to walk with me closer to the police cars, so that I can show you guys more or less what the police presence is. I think you can see basically behind me that the entire road is cut off. It's closed. So obviously this is a big protest. This is something that people immensely care about. Now that I see more of you are watching, I will just remind you guys that the hashtag we are using is #FreeTommy, and also the website where you can donate to help Tommy appeal the decision and have legal representation so he doesn't have to spend 13 months in prison is tommyrobinson.online.
Looks like she might be losing signal or something there. Surprise, surprise. But that's the gist of that. We'll put this link in the chat description box as well for later reference. She had just started that a few minutes before we pulled it up, so we didn't miss much there. I guess her Twitter got shut down. That's what she posted on Twitter. That's why we didn't see the YouTube stream earlier, so she switched to YouTube. So there's that. Thanks for coming in, fellas. I'm going to post this up and get this linked in. Thanks for dropping by. I think this protest might be winding down, it sounded like, but that gentleman that we saw the first video of before this one, I think he's kind of probably the majority viewpoint, but I think they're slightly misled in that unless you get more rowdy, nothing's going to change. I think they're past the point of repair, of just standing out there and saying a few chants. that day's over, I think, when you consider the way this went down yesterday. But they need to put it in every street in the big cities of London and England and Great Britain. This needs to be nationwide, not just centered in London. I think that would help as well. Again, it needs to be slightly leaderless and spread out to the various areas of concern, because it's happening in places other than just London and whatnot. My opinion, but just because those fellows he was talking about, that they were starting to get a little what did he call the group, right-wing fascist looking, the nationalists. I think he might be confusing the passion of the group with just because you're passionate and ready to go to blows doesn't mean you're some right-wing fascist either. I think they consider all football hooligans to be of that type. It seems like they get a stereotype going they don't want to be associated with. But they're going to have to get some groups together to fight this. They can't let themselves be marginalized just because of perceptions that are oftentimes perpetrated by the media. It's not even the truth. It's just the media perpetrates a certain stereotype, and everybody, well, that must be the situation. Yeah, it looks like she's lost her stream here. They've throttled her back. Oh, she's back up a little bit.
On this protest as well. Sorry, on Tommy's case as well. So there wasn't only a press restriction on the protest that Tommy was reporting from. There's also a press restriction on this one. So we're not allowed to say anything that has been happening within the court. So that's a huge issue, of course. Again, as I said, there's going to be another stream in an hour or so. Or a few hours, perhaps, depending on just how quickly Raheem Kassam can get here and the UKIP people. But basically, the idea is that we're going to stream from Victoria Tower Park, and there's going to be more speeches. The crowd might be a little bit smaller, so you guys will be able to hear perfectly what is going on. So again, as I said, make sure you subscribe and hit the notifications bell just so that you're notified. Because YouTube has everything.
All right.
Absolutely everything they can.
Again, this stream is posted. Be on the lookout for that stream she's talking about. We'll wrap this up. We got, like M. Long said, we got stuff to put in the ground and work to do. But thanks for joining us, everybody. Continue to follow these issues. Obviously, they actually talked about there's media suppression on these cases and out of the court. It's direct suppression of the First Amendment that we have, which they don't have. So they're fighting to get certain rights back that they never should have lost in a lot of respects, which once you lose a right, it's hard to get back. All right, y'all go out. Have a good day. Have a good weekend. If I don't see you between now and then, live free.